Hi, I'm your solo queue teammate that dropped Shack Palette at 5 gens, Lunar Lux. Dropping Shack Palette at 5 gens, more likely than you think. So, in honor and in relation to one of my previous videos, which was a killer tier list based on how often I see survivors rage quit against each killer, I thought it'd only be fair to make a tier list about each survivor in DVD and rank them based on how often I think or I feel they rage quit. And rage quit in this instance includes both disconnecting from the match or trying to go next on hook, committing, unaliving yourself on hook, since I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to say the S word on YouTube. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna make another video just like that one. This one's probably gonna be much longer since I think there's like close to like 40 or so survivors in the game, and I am gonna include legendary survivor cosmetics as different survivors because I feel like there are some trends among those specific survivors that hold true, I think. So yeah, that's how I'll be ranking survivors. Obviously, S tier would be survivors that DC probably the most or the most often, while F tier will be they DC the least or not at all. But honestly, I think every survivor at this point will DC for whatever perceived inconvenience. So F tier will just be they DC the least, while S will be the most. And this is not supposed to be scientific by any means, so it's just going to be based off of vibes. But yeah, I think, we're obviously going to go from the very first survivors all the way to the most recent survivors. But yeah, okay. I think it's also fair that I should probably mention which tier list I'm using. Let's see. So I'm using Tier Maker, and I'm using the tier list made by, let's see if I can find the name, by Springy _. They are available on Twitter. I will not name it X. But yeah, obviously this has all the characters in DVD. That's why I chose this one in particular because yeah, I chose this one because it included even the legendary skins. Because I was looking at some other survivor tier list categories or different actual tier lists, and it didn't include every individual like legendary skin and stuff. It just included the actual survivors that you purchase with the DLC. All right. Let's see, what else do we need to do before? I'm also wondering if I should instead reverse my tier list, where I should put my F tiers as the survivors that DC the most, and S tier as the survivors that DC the least. You know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna reverse the tier list. Let's be positive, I think.
Change your costume, Mimi. Your costume, change it around.
So S tier will now be survivors that DC the least because S is good, and F tier will be the survivors that DC the most. Okay, so I think perfect. I think that's exactly what I needed to do. Right. So obviously we're gonna start with Dwight. Dwight is, honestly, I don't feel like I see Dwight's DC that often, and if I do see them DC, it's probably because of actual server issues. I think Dwights are pretty goated, honestly. I think I want to put him towards C tier, I think. Yeah, I want to even say D tier. You know what? Let's have some fun. D tier. I rarely see Dwight's DC, honestly. I think. Yeah, plain and simple. I rarely ever see them DC. And like I mentioned, if they do DC, it's because of server connection issues, which is kind of weird too. And also, DC for Dwight, or they're in D tier because of DC, they're in D tier because of Dwight. Plain and simple. All right, next up, Meg. Meg is S tier. Like, No, wait. We're doing this reverse. We're doing this reverse. I forgot. Okay. All right. A tier will be Dwight. And then Meg will be F tier. Because Meg's DC quite often and Dwight's DC very little, if at all. On purpose, I should say. God, honestly, this video is gonna be so segmented and like very sporadic. I can feel it because I think my brain's a little scattered right now, but I think that's what makes a tier list fun, right? Especially one that's not meant to be serious, right? Okay, glad that we're all on the same page. Okay, so I think Claudette honestly is gonna be like closer to C tier, and I'm not just saying that because her name starts with a C as well, but I feel like Claudette's kind of tend to DC relatively often. Not too often, but often enough that I think I notice it. So I might even say that they're D tier. I want to say... Yeah, honestly, I think Claudettes are D tier. Most Claudettes will DC over minor inconveniences, so they're D tier for sure. Yeah, I mean, you won't really see good Claudette players, especially if it's like a Claudette main, DCing that often, but it does happen, especially with like newer Claudettes. I think they or newer players in general, and I think a lot of newer players usually like seem to want to play Claudette because she does have like a lot of beginner friendly perks and stuff. So D tier. Sorry, Claudette mains and stuff, but you belong kind of in D tier because of your DCs. Sorry. Jake's I feel like are like a step above Claudette. I think it's just a little bit off of vibes. Honestly, yeah. Just vibes, honestly. Like they're not really the ones that are known the most to like DC, I think, but I feel like it happens quite often. Okay. Honestly, I feel like I'm going through these pretty fast so far. We're gonna skip over all these silly little guys, and then we're gonna go over to Nia. Nia's. Honestly, I think Nia's go in F tier along with Meg's. They're like the cousin to Meg's, honestly.
Hey, you guys are waterbenders.
You too? That means we're kin.
They seem to be like pretty like they rival each other in terms of like DCs. I think they're both trying to go for like the same spot. But yeah, pretty similarly to like Megs and Megs, I think a lot of Nias will try to go for like really crazy survivor altruistic plays that they can clip on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, whatever, Facebook if you still have that, and Instagram if you're so inclined.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
But since they try to go for really crazy survivor plays like flashlight save, flashbang saves, pallet saves, and if they don't get them, I think sometimes they will DC over that. So yeah, Nias will go into F tier for a lot of the DCs. Okay, Lori's. I don't really see Lori as much nowadays. I feel like she's kind of gone completely unnoticed. But when I do see Lori's, I do think they DC quite often. So they're gonna go in D tier. Like Lori's back when I started playing DVD, which was like 2020. Lori's were like a menace. They were a menace. But nowadays, they just DC. I think since like, I think ever since like Stranger Things like was taken off of like DVD and then it came back, I think there's been like a huge like change in like the DVD survivor base. So I think Lois are now in D tier. I feel like they would have gone in S tier at a previous point, but they're D tier for sure, I think now. Okay. Ace. Honestly, I think aces seem to be like pretty sturdy and they tend to stake out games pretty well, but I wouldn't quite place them in S tier. Would I place them in S tier? I mean, S tier is like you DC very, very little, I would say. Very little to not at all. But I honestly want to say that aces go in S tier? I'm really tempted to put him in S tier, but I honestly think that he belongs in A tier. I think a lot of aces are kind of like the male version of Nias. Like they tend to try to go for really crazy plays. They try to like really take you in like these very courageous chases, but it doesn't always work out. And when you down them, inevitably they sometimes will DC, or they're like I said, they're very similar to Nia's, where like they try to go for like these crazy survivor plays, and then if they fail, they DC. So I think that's the one thing that will bring him down to A tier. But overall, I genuinely do feel like aces tend to stick out their games regardless of how bad it's going. So I'm gonna give that to aces. Bills are S tier. Bills are S tier for sure. I don't think.
See, that's what I think you think I said. I said musician, not magician.
I don't think, baby.
But
I don't think. What is that? That's ghetto. I don't think. I know.
So you
Think.
I don't think they really DC that often. They do DC, or they do quit. They do rage quit, but not super often. And honestly, bills are like, especially beginner bills, tend to be like super altruistic and try to go for these crazy plays, and they will stick out a game. So you know what? I gotta hand them to them. Bills are like S tier for sure, in my opinion. I mean, and who doesn't love like a old man trying to save you at any cost whatsoever, at the cost of their own life? I love that. It's so nice. It's like such a nice altruistic sentiment. Okay, Fungmins are F tier. Again, purely off of vibes. They're very similar to like Megs and Nia, more similar to Megs, I want to say. But honestly, Fungmin, I think, goes into F tier. I mean, they tend to like DC quite often, pretty similar to like Megs and Nia's, and I feel that's just off of vibes. I don't think I need to explain that any further, but that's true, I think. David, I think, belongs in. I think I want to put him in C tier. I mean, what's like the midway point? Probably B or C. But I feel like, yeah, B or C is like the midway point of like, it could go either way. But I feel like David's tend to stick out games pretty well too. And there are some really good like David mains out there that are like really good at taking you on long chases. So I want to say that David's will be a B tier, honestly. They're kind of like very similar to Bill, I think, but not quite the same. They're like the heightened version of a Bill, I want to say. So you know what? They're gonna go in B tier. Okay, who's left down here? Oh, Quentin's. Okay, I'm just gonna put him right here for the time being. But you know what? Yeah, I think honestly Quentin belongs in B tier. I don't see them very often nowadays. They do DC, but they do tend to stick out their games as well. They're like a toss-up, but I feel like in general they tend to not DC. It's probably because they have like so few Quentin mains out there that they gotta represent. But they do DC, so B tier. Okay, Kate. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna put her in F tier for now. Don't worry, I'm just scrolling back up. Kate, I think, belongs in. Honestly, I think Kate is kind of like A tier. I don't really see Kate's DC super often. They do stick out their games. I'm either A tier or B tier. But there are some good Kates out there, and there's some kind of potato-y Kates out there. So this might be wrong, and I'm very willing to bet that there's going to be some people that are going to completely disagree on me on this one. But I think Kate should be in B, but I feel like I should put her in A. I think, yeah, that's just completely based off of vibes. Yeah, I mean, this video is going to be weird because it's just completely based off of vibes and nothing else. Obviously, I don't have like much actual hard evidence to show for each individual DC, which actually could be a good video idea. Actual recording which survivors DC the most. I'll look into that, actually. I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I think Kate's overall don't DC at all, or DC very little. Yeah, just based off of vibes. All right, let's see. Who's next? Maurice doesn't exist. Adams. Adams are S tier, no doubt. S tier. S tier. I don't know why, but they will stick out a game. They're very reliant. They're good in chase, and just they very rarely DC. I think kind of similar to Quentin, but actually very good at the game.
No, I didn't mean it like that. Come on. No, I would never mean it like that.
Adam mains will take you on long chases. There's very few of them, and they gotta represent the very few Adam mains that are out there. So I think, I think they just in general have the experience, and also since he's getting better and better cosmetics, I think people are being attracted to him as a character, but also as his beautiful, handsome, good looks. So S tier. Who's next? Jeff. So I'm a Jeff main. I currently have him at Prestige 51. I'm planning on eventually getting him to P100. I wish I could say that Jeff mains are S tier. They could have been at one point, especially since there was so few of us. But I think now they're probably A tier, maybe B tier. I want to tentatively say that they belong in... You know what? They belong in a B tier. I'm going to be realistic. They don't DC quite often, but they do die on hook on purpose. They do commit.
Oh my god! Oh jeez! Oh my god!
So they're going to be B tier. Unfortunately, as a Jeff main, I do got to represent the Jeffs, and I do got to try my best to not rage quit sometimes. I do stick out. I think I've pretty much stuck out most of my games in the last while. The only games that I haven't stuck out are the ones where like 2 survivors are like dead at 5 gens. Dead because they either committed on hook or because they actually DC'd. At that point, I'm just I'll take the minute penalty and just wait for a better match, hopefully. But yeah, B tier. Sorry, Jeffs, but we gotta be realistic here. We gotta do better. Okay. Killer. Jane. Okay, let me get a sip of water first. Okay, Jane. You know what's kind of sad? I feel like I don't really see Janes as much nowadays. But I don't see Janes that often nowadays. They used to be pretty popular when I started playing. I think it was mostly because people were rightfully lusting after her. But I think since we've gotten so many new options to lust for, we've gotten more options for people to lust after. I think she's gone down in the popularity tier, but this is the tier list for DCing and quitting. So I think Janes are pretty the very the very few Janes that I see belong in S tier. I think they rarely, if ever, DC. And I think the very few dedicated Jane mains at this point are like very good at the game, or at least the ones that I've seen. So S tier. Ash. Ash? I want to say belongs in probably D tier or C tier. There's some very good Ash players out there, especially the dedicated ones. I mean, obviously all the dedicated players will be very good, except for like a very select few that I will eventually get to. But Ash mains, I feel like usually I'm gonna put them in C tier. They don't DC often. Okay, they don't quit often, but they do quit often enough that I think I've taken notice of it. So they're gonna be like in the could go either way situation when you outplay them or whatever. But I think they tend to be on the lower end, meaning they will DC more. They're more likely to DC. So C tier. Nancy's ref. Sorry, it's the truth. Nancy's ref. At one point, similar to Lori, they used to be like a menace in this game. But again, similarly to what I was saying earlier, as soon as like Stranger Things went away, I think a lot of the dedicated Nancy, or a lot of the people who came to DBD for Stranger Things, seem to have like gone away and disappeared. And I think that left like a huge vacuum in the capable Nancy mains. So I think Nancy now is F tier, at least the ones that I've seen. You down them within like at 5 gens within like even like 3 minutes of the game, and they will DC. You'll down them within like 1 generator remaining, and it's their first hook, and they'll DC. So, and they'll quit. But yeah, F tier. Sorry, Nancy's. That's where you belong. In the opposite spectrum, I think Steves belong in, I'm gonna say A tier. They I do see them DC often enough that I don't think I can place them. I can accurately place them in S tier, but just enough that they can be pegged down to A tier. There's some very good Steve mains out there. Some very, very good Steve mains.
Very demure, very mindful.
But the very few out there that, the very few people that play Steve out there, there's some that will give them a bad name, and that's where they're going to go in A tier. They just quite couldn't make it. Oh, Yui. Oh, Yui. I'm a Yui main. I have her at P100. Sadly, I wish I could play her, place her in S tier because I want to be biased and stuff. But since I want to be realistic, I feel like I honestly see Yui mains quit a match pretty often nowadays. So I think they belong in C tier. Again, back in my day, back when I started playing DVD like in 2020, 2021, I started being a Yui main, and I rarely saw Yui mains or Yui players quit. But now, since I think she's gotten more popular, it's brought a lot of beginner players, a lot of not so good survivor players to Yui, and she's been getting a bad rap now. So I think C tier. Sorry. Yeah, sadly, I wish I could place her at S tier, but C tier. Sorry. You Yui mains have to put. Give me 1 second. Okay, this message goes out to all the Yui mains out there. We have to do better. We have to be the best players out there. We can't go quitting on a match anymore, you know? We gotta put some respect into Yui Kimura. Let me double check that name. Yui Kimura. Yeah. we gotta put some respect into Yui Kimura's name. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I could be very wrong. Let me know. But yeah, you gotta put some respect in her name. We gotta put her back into S tier. We gotta make her amazing once more. But yeah. Yeah, Yui should be at S tier, but some of y'all are disrespectful. Anyways, let's move on from my tiny rant. Zarina's. Honestly, okay, very much initially I wanted to put Zarina's an S tier, but I think now that I'm reconsidering it, I do see them, they're somewhat popular, and I do, oh god, I wish it wasn't on the screen. Anyways, she's pretty popular, but I do think that because of the few times that I do, or the times that I do see Zarina's, they do tend to quit often sometimes. So I think A tier, honestly. Yeah, A tier feels about right. Yeah, that feels right. Cheryl's. F tier. F tier. They quit pretty often. Like, I don't think that's even like a contest, a question. They just do it. They'll load into a match, quit. They'll get first down, quit. They'll get hooked, quit. They can't go for a pallet save, quit. They fail a flashlight save, quit.
Us. Club. Another club. Another club. Club. Another club. Another club. Another club. Another club. Plane. Another club. Another club. Next place. Club. Another club.
Any inconvenience, they'll do it. Yeah, sorry, Cheryl Mains. Yeah, frankly, isn't she like supposed to be like one of the strongest survivors lore-wise? Then why are people quitting? Tell me that, huh? Riddle me that, people. Anyways, let's move on. Same tier, frankly. Again, I don't know the Silent Hill lore, but they quit pretty often. They go hand in hand, honestly. Yeah. They just both quit pretty often in matches. Nothing else I could say. Almost tempted to say they're the crybabies of DVD. There, I said it. Okay. Anyways, let's move on from that little bit of rage bait. I don't know her name, but I think she's just a step above both Cheryl and Lisa. I think that's her name, if I'm not mistaken. Just a step above. Like I don't know what it is about the Silent Hill female characters, and including James too. Not a female character, but I don't know what it is about the Silent Hill characters, but they quit so often that it's kind of weird, honestly. Like, I don't know what it is. They just quit really, 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 really often. So I don't know her name. I'm sure she's a very nice gal, but D tier. Then we go over to Felix. Felix, I think, you know what? Felix is S tier. I don't see a lot of Felixes nowadays. I think the thirst for Felix has moved on into Vittorio and David back again. But Felixes, I feel like the few times that I do see one, they tend to be pretty good at and not like amazing at the game, just good enough to like hold their own and to like help out their team decently. And they don't really DC or quit, so I think they just belong in S tier. They're like really holding it together. Like, good for you, Felixes, honestly. Good for y'all. It's probably because they're German.
I fucking hate life, dude. I fucking hate religion. Yeah, I mightly dislike you. Like a little bit.
Let's see. We have Sybil. Again, like I was saying earlier, I don't know what it is about these Silent Hill characters, but I see them DC very, very, very often. Like, especially you, Sybil. Like, maybe Lisa's like a step above Cheryl, so we can do that. But Sybil's are just like, are like crybabies. Sorry, like, I hate to be like so antagonistic, but like, you guys will DC and quit at every inconvenience. It's crazy. Yeah, probably because she's a cop. Elodie's. S tier. Elodie's are pretty goated. Like, nowadays I think they're very good. I don't see a lot of them. Like, I mean, I think since we have like, what, 40 or so Survivor characters now, Elodie's tend to be pretty good, since, I mean, there's only so many Survivors that you can truly invest your time in, and Elodie is like probably one of my favorite ones to like see. Like, I don't see them super often. They're pretty good at the game, not like so good that you'll really struggle as killer, but definitely good enough that you'll have a little bit of a challenge going for you. And if they're not like super good, they'll be like just good enough to where they're not a bad survivor, but like, you know, they'll give you a challenge. They're like a good level for like all levels of experience, I think. But yeah, honestly, like Felix's, they're giving Elodie's a good name in my opinion. But I think the pajama Elodies, if you are pajama Elodie, the Christmas pajama one with like the reindeer outfit, you're an F tier. Regular other Elodies will go in S tier, with the exception of those reindeer Elodies, especially if you have a flashlight equipped at the beginning of the game. That's just the rules. That's the evidence. There it is, Your Honor. Kind of just like gotta let my brain go into these rants, you know? Because I mean, lately I feel like I want to try and get better at like certain killers, but it's so difficult trying to get like better at unknown. Because if I do go up against good survivors, they won't DC, and I'm like struggling to get like decent value out of like my hallucinations or the weakened state. But if I go against like less good survivors, they will like quit over anything. So it's really frustrating as killer. So I think this is one of the catalysts that is bringing me to make a tier list like this. Okay, moving on from that minor rant. Yun-Jin's. I want to place her at S. I kind of want to place her at A, but I think she belongs in B, honestly. They're pretty good Yun-Jins. Not crazy good all the time, but relatively good pretty often. Pretty similar to Elodie's, but I think there's quite a few Yun-Jins. Honestly, yeah, pretty good, pretty decent level of experience for both survivors and killers. You don't really have to worry too much about Yun-Jins. They're altruistic enough, they're good in chase enough, they'll focus on their objectives. But that being said, they do quit the game relatively often enough that I do see them quit a match, DCing or committing on hook. So yeah, B tier. Yeah, B tier. Jonathan's, I mean this, no disrespect to you Jonathans, but you guys belong in D tier. Oh wait, her name is Lisa, I just remembered. I don't know your name. Anyways, Jonathan's I think belong in D tier. They just belong in D tier. I rarely see them. And when I do, there's a very good chance that they're gonna DC or quit the match because, yeah, they just do it. I don't honestly. The more that I'm like looking at this, the more I'm realizing that it's usually legendary survivors or legendary cosmetic survivors that are the most likely to DC. I don't know why that is though. I have like zero clue. Maybe it's entitlement. I mean, it's clearly entitlement, but like entitlement over what? I don't know. Do you know? Let me know, because I don't. Okay, and then we have Jill. Jills are kind of a toss-up. Yeah, they're somewhere in the middle, but I think they belong in C tier. I think they used to be good when Resident Evil first came out. A lot of people were attracted to Jill because she's like very much final girl coded. But now that she's been in the game for long enough, they're like a C tier. I think they're what I think if I had to like make a connection, they're what Megs used to be back in the good old days, the good old days of DVD. But I think now that DVD, especially the Resident Evil chapters, have been here for a while, I think they've slowly been dragged down to C tier. What the fuck is your name? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Claire. I think Claire's are kind of either C tier or D tier, but I think they're D tier. Yeah, they're D tier for sure. Similar to all the other legendary characters, don't see them super often, but the times that I do see them, there's a very, very good chance that they're gonna quit the match. But yeah, I feel like not every survivor deserves a full explanation, because some of them are just completely based off of vibes, and I think most of y'all might agree. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But I think I'm getting through this fast enough that I don't think I need to separate this video into two parts. Probably just one long hour video if I had to guess, but hopefully no longer than like an hour. Okay, Leon. Oh, Leons are A tier. They do DC. There's plenty of Leons out there, but they do DC and quit. Not often, and I mean, I think they still have like the reputation of like being like the golden retrievers of DVD. They're like the Dwights of Resident Evil in DVD, if that makes any sense. Because the real Leon Kennedy would never quit on a match. But they're the golden retrievers. They try their best. Some of them are very good in chase. Some of them are very good survivors, but the ones that are less experienced are very sweet, very kind. They'll try their best. But there's a few that will actually be frustrated enough to quit a match. So they're gonna go A tier. I think they deserve A tier. But yeah, they belong in A tier. They're just, yeah. Sweet little babies. Okay. Chris. I feel like similar to Claire. Very similar to Claire. Not just because they're siblings, but I think they go B tier actually. Similar to Claire, similar to Jill. Kind of a toss-up. I never know whether they're going to DC or not, but I think they're less likely to DC than Jill's, and that's probably because they spent all that money on the Chris cosmetic. That's my only guess. Yeah, that's it. Because what, this cosmetic's like what, $11-12? Yikes. Okay. Moving on to who else is left? We could put Victor on here. Let's not put Victor on here. The zombies. You know what? Let's have some fun. The zombies belong in. I think you belong in C tier. You belong in B tier. Frankly, because I think you're more likely to get stuck on objects than you are. She's always doing her best to like actually track down survivors and stuff, but this guy for some reason is always getting stuck on objects. So I think they're in C tier and she's in B tier because they're a toss-up. You never know what's going to happen when you play Nemi. So C tier. C tier and B tier. Okay. Oh, these guys. I haven't even seen these. Let's ignore them. Mikaela. Mikaela, I think, is... Yeah, she's like a toss-up. There's plenty of Mikaela players out there. But I think more likely than not, they're not super inclined to quit a match, so I think they're going to go in B tier. They do quit often enough that I notice it, but just B tier. Just B tier. Okay, let's see. Who else? James, F tier. No question. No question whatsoever. Like I previously mentioned, I don't know what it is about these Silent Hill characters, with the exception of Lisa, but they just quit the game so often. I really don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. Maybe it's something having to do with the Silent Hill lore that I'm not aware, but apparently they are, so there it is. Okay, Jonah. Jonahs are kind of like a Leon Kennedy level of like friendliness and golden retriever, but they're not always the most skill, and there's not a lot of Jonah mains or players out there, so I think they kind of belong in B tier. They're a little bit of a toss-up, but very more likely than not, they're not going to quit on a match. They're definitely going to try their best unless it's like a really lost match, like one survivor dead at 3 gens and everyone else has like at least 1 hook or maybe 2 hooks on them. So yeah, I think they're like a B tier. Okay. Who else is next? Survivors. Well, they even have the Onryo version of the really goopy version of Onryo. That's amazing. Okay. Let's see. Hatties. I think S tier. Just S tier. Something about the original survivors that are like the original the original ideas, concepts, the original IP survivors of behavior of DVD. Some of them are like, especially the less popular ones, they're really representing their mains. There's been a few P100 Hatties that I've played against that are absolutely atrocious to chase, but they are for sure S tier. They don't really quit. They're good in chase. They're altruistic. They know how to rotate for unhooks. They're a menace. They're a menace. So S tier. Okay. Yoichi I think is like kind of an A tier, maybe a B tier. Some of them are very good. Most of them are pretty good actually. A lot of them won't quit unless it's like a really lost match, or like a match that seems like it's not gonna be a complete win or something. So I want to say either A tier or B tier, but I'm trying to remember. I think they're A tier. Yeah, just off of vibes, I think they're just A tier. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't see them super often, but yeah, A tier. Okay, so I'm hoping I won't catch too much heat for this next section, but I think a lot of these Attack on Titan version of characters are gonna go in very low tiers. Dwight, I rarely see this character, so it's really hard for me to say, but I feel like just off of vibes, they're gonna go in C tier. Megs with the Attack on Titan skin are F tier. Zarina's with the Attack on Titan skin are F tier. Felix's with the Attack on Titan skin are C tier. Aces with the Attack on Titan skin are either D tier or F tier. Something about Aces sometimes is just like, they do DC often enough. I'm now second guessing actual Aces, but I think I don't see these guys very often, so I think they're just gonna go D tier, but I have a good inclination that they're very likely to quit a match. Kate's with this skin I think are a little bit better than the rest, so I think they're gonna go in B tier. Jake's with this Attack on Titan skin I think are B tier. Actually, I think they're A tier, honestly. I don't know Attack on Titan lore. I don't watch a lot of anime. I rarely watch anime, I should say. But I think Jake's with that skin in particular are pretty good. They're a little bit of a menacing with these Kates, but likely to DC. And the Yui's with this skin are F tier. I mean, I wish I could say that any version of Yui should be a S tier, but a lot of these Attack on Titan skin players tend to be very rage quitty. So yeah, I think that's it for the Attack on Titan people. Let's see who else. Ada's. Ada's. Honestly, they're C tier. This is probably one of the biggest hot takes I might have in this entire video, but I wish I could give it to you, Ada mains. I wish I could give it to you, especially Otofu, since he's an Ada main. But the Adas that I've gone up against, they quit pretty often. I don't know what it is. Ada's supposed to be this bad bitch character.
You ready to fucking die?
Yeah, I'm a bad bitch. You can't kill me.
But like all I've seen is like Ragey McGee. So I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're wrong. I think they're wrong, but they belong in C tier. They quit often enough. Some of them are very good, but honestly, they quit often enough. I'm even tempted to put them in D tier. They're G tier. Yeah, something about them just feels wrong about like how often they DC. No clue why. Rebecca's on the other hand are, I think, a B tier. Some of them, I think they're also more likely to quit a match, Kermit on hook, or try to get the killer's attention so that they can be sacrificed and killed, than DCing. They're more likely to seek the killer's attention to die than DCing themselves. And I think that's why I'm putting them in B tier. Yeah, just B tier. They quit often enough that I've taken notice, I think. Okay. Up next, Shevas. Shevas are I think S tier. I think they're for sure an S tier. The Sheva mains are very, very, very dedicated and very good. I think Otz is a Sheva main. I might be mistaken, but yeah. S tier. Let's see, who else? Carlos is, I think, I kind of am tempted to put him in S tier, but I think they belong in A tier. Pretty similar to a lot of these licensed characters. I don't see them often enough, especially like the legendary characters. I don't see them very often, and the ones that do play Carlos are dedicated enough to be pretty good at the game. So I think they're A tier, and they don't really quit the match often enough for me to like take a massive notice in it. So A tier. Okay, up next, I think we're finally down to Vittorio. Okay, we're making pretty good headway. Oh God, it's still so many. Okay, Vittorio. God, there's so many survivors. Jesus. Vittorios are C tier. Yeah, they're C tier. Something about the energy of Vittorios is just like weird. I think they're just in it for the hot gilf. But honestly, he's more like a dilf than a gilf, so they're in it for the hot dilf energy. So they're very likely to see, or they're either going to be very good at the game, or very good at the game and they'll stick out a game, or they'll quit the game. So C tier. Okay, now we are down to the twins. Talita, I think goes in. I don't think they DC that often, and some of them are pretty good, so I think they go in A tier. And Renato's pretty similarly are pretty good at the game. I kind of wanted to place them at S tier. There's some very good Renato players. I'm trying not to think about this too much because I realize that there's still quite a few characters to go through. So I kind of want to put them together just because they're twins, and that's just like fun and sweet. Wait, are they twins? I just know they're brother and sister. They're brother and sister, so I kind of want to put them together. You know what? They can go together. They go together. Same vibes. You never know whether they're very likely to not quit a match, but there's a few times they do. So A tier. Gabe's, I think, kind of similar to I think the Rebeccas. They're likely to seek out the killer so that they can get killed and sacrificed rather than actually press the DC button, probably because they've already gotten like other DCs. But I think they belong in the B tier. Yeah, like they're not really fully intent on like going into a match in preparation to quit the match, but they do it. Okay, we're gonna skip over you, and then we're gonna go over to Nick Cage. Okay, I think Nick Cage is A tier. Very unlikely to quit a match, but often enough that I do notice it. There's some very good Kate and Nick Cages out there, and honestly, a lot of Nick Cages are in there for the fun. They're not really intending on like trying too hard, but they're good enough that they can try hard and stuff, or try to win the match or really sway a match in their favor. So I think A tier. Again, the Silent Hill characters, I think this girl is Maria. I think she's gonna go F tier. They just like DC and quit so often. I don't know what it is. Like, so F tier. Okay. Ellen Ripley's. I think kind of want to say that they're like a C tier. I do see them relatively often, but they do quit often enough that it's very weird to me that they do, especially like on the first down too. I feel like if I remember things correctly, so I think they go into C tier. The good ones, I mean, like I've said this before for a lot of these survivors, the good ones won't DC or quit on you, but the ones that are not will very likely. So C tier. Oh, Jonesy. Jonesy is S tier. He never quits on you. We love our aberrant little cat, ginger cat. We love him. So S tier. You know what? In the same energy, Maurice never sells me out. They've always tried their best, and they go S tier. Okay. This version of Ellen Ripley's, I think, go a tier lower. Not sure why. Just off of vibes. Yeah, just D tier. Okay. Who else do we have? We have... Honestly, I rarely see these characters. I've never... There's an Adam? Wait, that can't be true. There's an Adam version? I never even knew there was an Adam. I've never seen this man. Have I? Have I seen this guy? I mean, I've seen the Felixes. I've seen the Renatos. Is it Renato? Yeah. The Tubarão. Tubarão? I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brazilians and Portuguese people. I didn't know this guy existed, honestly. And if I have seen him, I'd never actually recognized him. But honestly, these guys, I think Tubarão, I'm sorry, belongs in B tier. I don't see them often enough. I think they're practically like a very rare skin at this point. I don't know if the collection is still available. Similar to Tubarão. Sorry again. I think Felix, this version of Felix goes up here, and I honestly don't know what to do with this version of Adam. Wotai, I think was the name. Again, I'm butchering these names. I'm so sorry. Wilmai. God, I'm sorry. I'm butchering these names. Wilmai. I've never seen this man in my life, so I'm gonna put this in B tier only because of that. Because I don't know. It could go either way, but B tier because I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. So, yeah. That's crazy. That's actually news to me. Look at that. Who else do we have? Alan Wake's, I think, are B tier? Maybe A tier? Again, there's no one is safe from quitting on this match. Obviously, the S tiers are less likely, but I think are the least likely. But I think Alan Wake's belong in B tier. Yeah, I think they belong in B tier. Not super often enough that I do see it. Yeah, so B tier. And they're relatively popular, so I think I have a decent level of information there. Sagas belong in S tier, like no questions. They're very good. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, there have been a few sagas that quit on me, but I think they, you know what? I'll leave them in S tier. I think they deserve that much. There's so few of them. They're so good at the game sometimes that they deserve the S tier. What is your name? Marigold. Marigold is... There's very few of these that I don't see them often enough. And the very few that I've seen, there's this very small percentage of those that I've seen that don't quit the match. So they're going to go in F tier. I guess this is supposed to be like the evil version of Alan Wake? I honestly don't have any real information on this man.
What the hell is... Ooh, y'all are really testing me on some stuff that I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street. I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
So similar to these other guys that I don't see super often, they're just gonna go in B tier. I don't know the lore difference between these two or what separates them from being two different characters in this tier list, so I'm just gonna put them together and leave them at B tier. Sables are F tier. Like, there's so many Sable players, so many Sable mains, and I think we all have a very good idea that they're very likely to quit a match. They're like the Megs. They're like the new Megs, I think, or the new Nias. Sorry to y'all. That's probably a very hot take, but they're the new it girl, the new hot girl in town. So they're very popular and they quit often enough that I think it's fair to say that they're F tier. Oh, the Tanuki. Oh, you're so cute. Sorry, not F tier. S tier. He's so cute. He never sells you out. He's so friendly. He says hi. He might get the killer to help you. He might help you get the killer's like favor. So you know what? Tanuki's with it. Oh, I guess I should also include the rats. Do I want to include the rats? Nah, I'll leave the rats. Okay, Aestries. I'm sorry, I'm butchering all these names. Sorry to the elven race out there, and the half elves out there.
There is a fell voice on the air.
But I think Aestri belongs in C tier. Very few very few Aestries, but there's a decent chance that they might quit a match. Bayamars I think are S tier. I don't see them often enough. Some of them are very good, or the ones that I've seen gone up against are very good, and they'll try their best to help their teammates out and survive. So S tier. Why is Trix here? Whatever. Lars can be pretty good, honestly. They can be pretty good at the game. Not all of them, since she is pretty popular at the moment. But I think she's B tier. You never really know which way the skill of the player is gonna go. It could be really good, but overall, I think they tend to stick out matches and play pretty well. I'm also considering myself to slowly become an Lara main. I think I have her like at Prestige 27 or 28 or something like that. I'll eventually get around to P100 her, but I'm gonna be honest. Some of y'all Laras give her a bad name. She's supposed to be one of the final girls, but she's not with it at the moment. So B tier. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, just 3 survivors left. Reigns. If you haven't seen the new Alien movie, I think it's pretty good. I'm not a big Alien enthusiast, so I might be completely wrong here, but in terms of DVD, I think she's F tier. There's very few Reigns that I've seen, and the ones that I have seen will quit the match pretty often, honestly. I don't know. Something about legendary characters makes people really entitled. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because they think that they've invested enough money into this game. I don't know what it is. But they quit. So F tier. Then we have Trevor and Alucard. Or I'll get to Alucard soon enough. Trevor's, I think... Trevor's are like B tier. It's I think too new. They're too new, too fresh to really know for sure. But I think tentatively, I mean, they've been around for like a month now, so I think they belong in B tier, honestly. And Alucard. Alucards are like a tier or 2 above the rest. So I think above Trevor. So I think A tier. Yeah, like they don't really quit often, but they will and will sometimes. So I've seen it happen. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, unless there's anyone else that I want to add. No, I think we're done here. I could refine this a bit more. I guess I'll refine it a little bit more, just for the satisfaction of everyone out there, or the dissatisfaction of everyone out there. Jonesy goes first, obviously. Tanuki goes first. Maurice can go at the end, just because I'm not a super big fan of Maurice. Jonesy can go second because it's Jonesy. Bayamars can go very high up because I very rarely see them and very rarely see or quit. Then I think it's Hattie's. And I think Adam. And I think Jane. Actually, maybe Elodie can go up here. No, Adam, Elodie, Jane.
A few minutes later.
Fungman can be a little higher, honestly. Just a little bit. And I think that's it. So read it and weep. Yeah, that's the end of it. Unless I missed a survivor, but I think that's pretty much all the survivors that I wanted to add. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this meaningless, pointless video for fun. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. That's completely fair. And let me know if you guys agree with this tier list. Like, frankly, I mean, I want to say that I'm right. I'm probably not. I'm very likely to be wrong. But I honestly feel like this is somewhat accurate. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have any ideas or thoughts about this. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.